hitting 1993 times and then dropping back down. Like, that's the other thing, is I would kind of... I mean, at some point, I guess, I'll have to start playing Mahjong. But I kind of don't get... Like, clearly, it's very RNG. But I don't... I mean, duh, there has to be a strategy to it. Otherwise, there wouldn't be people who are good at it and people who are bad at it. But I can't, for the life of me, figure out, like, what are the variables here that you look at to figure out what you should do. Like, if you can go for this or go for that, like, what possible reason is there to go for one and not the other? And, I mean, obviously you could write entire books on, like, how to do it right. And I don't know. Is there anything... I'm starting to really get burned out on the fish, too. On big fishing. I have 13 big fish left to catch in the whole game. Out of however many there are, I think there's over 400. I'm down to the last 13. 2 of them are... well, I shouldn't say easy to catch, but they don't have any time or weather requirements, so I'm saving those so I can maybe do them on stream. Maybe I'll do a stream where I catch the last 2 big fish. But... God, some of them, I've gone to so many of the windows and just been like, okay, here's my I have 5 minutes of fishing. Do you show up? Do you show up at all? No, you don't. It's got, at this point, it's got to be like a 0.1% chance for this fish to show up, because I've been there so many times and haven't gotten it. I need to... What's today? Saturday? We got Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I have to do, like, 20 frontline matches in the next couple days, because I'm going to completely stop playing frontline as soon as the new PvPs come out. And I'm close to an achievement of, like, play frontline 300 matches, I think. And also, like, I need maybe... like 4 or 5 more wins to get one of the win X number of frontline matches achievements. So, back to lawyers. Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even there's nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, you're here. Why, naturally, a true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll see you later, then. Pray spam to get the mounts. Wait, the what? Before they swap. Oh, wait, is that the Moogle Tome event? Oh, you don't need to spam Praetorium. Go do Aurum Vale. Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject. Again? Oh, you're still here, Mr. Sholmes. What's the matter? Or do PvP. You get a lot of them doing PvP, kind of. Or just get the mounts from somewhere. Why? There aren't any unique mounts this time around. You could just run, whatever they are. Is it not the dogs. Is it the dogs? Are they giving out dogs? You could just do Tsukuyomi or whatever. Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction. Sorry? I don't follow. Must I spell it out? I, the great Sherlock Sholmes, the greatest detective of worldwide acclamation, arose at some ungodly hour to be here now, first thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sleep is quite impregnable. Like Ratanton's shields, Iris had to employ her full gamut of tactics. She pulled the covers off, shook me, poked both cheeks, punched me, and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boiling cup of her latest experimental blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred. Bestirred? What a great word. Man, who wrote this game? Because I feel like the writing in Phoenix Wright games has never been good. I mean, I can excuse it back in the, like, the Game Boy Advance games, where it's like, you know we can only fit so many words in a text box. So, like, you do have to plan a little bit differently. Like, conversations can only go on for so many text boxes before you're like, come on. Oh my, Iris has been busy. Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice. I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist, one who relishes the infinite possibilities of blending tea. I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. I guess that's true. You still have. It's been a long time since I went and farmed like Susano and them. It is kind of boring and annoying to farm old extremes. I could see not wanting to. Sorry to cut in, says somebody. Oh, it's Gregson. Sorry to cut in. Oh, Inspector Gregson. Good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow, why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me, are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor? What? I don't know! Poor Professor. Translated text box by text box, pretty sure. Seems alright, true. I guess I meant more of, like, maybe I'm misremembering what the size of the font was in the older game. Like, if you go back to something like, you know, an NES game, it's like there was so, like, it was actually, if you were going to play Final Fantasy or something, you know, the amount of words that you would fit in the text box based on the size of the font, based on the resolution of the thing, would have been, like, really... You see, or even better, if you go back to, like, Game Boy games, where they were, like... If you go and look at Zelda on the Game Boy, and it's, like, anything that somebody would have had to say, they were only putting, like, maybe 6 words on the screen at once, and then you would hit A. And if it was, like... There were words that would have to be hyphenated across text boxes. But yeah, I guess you could still have a well-written game. Yeah, I don't know why I'm pretending like the format of the game would impact the writing so strongly. I don't think it would. The Japanese font is actually broader than the English. Twice as many English characters. Well, I guess you need more English characters. You need more English characters than Japanese characters, though. Like, to say something. You're like, you know, oh, it's the end of the world. It's like, that's like 3 kanji. Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? Ah, I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. German, but you don't have to put spaces in between your words. You can just say der Hauptmann Lingerzager, and you don't have to put any spaces in between. That saves a lot of room. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. That mass murderers? Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy. He was found guilty in a closed trial 10 years ago now. It was all done under wraps. He was quickly executed soon after the trial. It's all in here. The killer's autopsy report. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Yes, much obliged, Gregson. Us lowly lot at the yard are just doing what we can, in the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Well then, Professor Harebrained, this is it. Today we're going to lay all this to rest at last. I wish you the best of luck, Professor. I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Drebber. Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness. I'm still amazed you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Counsel and the defendant. The trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. This is it then, the final chapter. Funny. My heart's racing a little. I've not felt this before, actually. What? What do you mean? You're nervous before you go into every trial, idiot. This strange foreboding, as if something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. Oh. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. Oh, that's right. He's got an assistant this time. Kazuma's going to be helping Zeke's. But surely we're not going to, like, there's still another case to the game, surely. And we're not going to get, we might not get the Kazuma, like, face reveal or explanation or anything until that chapter. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Harebrained, here present, who stands accused of suspected murder. Are the counsels for the prosecution and defense ready to proceed? The prosecution is ready, my lord. That's. The defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Van Zieks has his apprentice with him. His apprentice with memory loss. Wish my apprentice had memory loss too. Then we could match. If I may, Lord Van Zieks? Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. Oh my god, I can't wait. I almost missed it, him sheathing the sword. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. And the smooth running of liquid refreshments, by the look of it. The way he holds himself, the way he moves. It couldn't be anyone else. But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment. I know, but... oh, this is so very hard. It would appear the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. Yes, my lord. I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today, are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, my lord. I'm sure we all understand the importance of doing our civic duty. I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very wearing? Like it wears you down? So very wearing? Alright. To take a man's life with a conjuring trick, it is against the magician's code, not to mention the law. Any fake scientist should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me. We have to listen to what's said on both sides of the fence and settle on one. That's it, isn't it? Wasn't like this in my day. Wasn't like this at all. If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zieks. Before I do, my lord, there is a report I must read to the court. Yesterday, at the Great Exhibition Grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion effected by an unknown person or persons. I like that too. Use the word. I bring it up every time I see it. Use of the word effect as a verb. Because you hear, the easy rule is, if it's a verb, it starts with A, and if it's a noun, it starts with E. It's like, no. No, there's this great word called effect that's a verb. It was what? That explosion? This is an outrage. Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office in the evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithers, but I had to Google the word because I didn't know what it meant, and the wreckage reduced to ashes in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He did it to destroy the evidence, did he? That Enoch Drebber. The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Post-explosion photograph. Alright, well, there's obviously a place to fall down to safety. Late yesterday afternoon, the protection afforded to the machine by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act was revoked. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. As such, this will become a very different trial. As it stands now, with no evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed, a most unfortunate state of affairs. However, one thing remains clear. The victim's death was a result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. For it was the accused himself who was operating the machine and who ultimately caused its loss of control. As Lord Van Zieks rightly says, this is a very different trial now. Taking control, the accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Asman died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Asman. So, what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? That the defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. See, I can point at you too. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zieks, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. State your name and occupation for the court. Name: Enoch Drebber. Occupation: hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, what do I feel as if I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too? I had exactly the same feeling myself. Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? Most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. There was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment, or so our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it. I was the architect of its design, in precise accordance with the blueprints. But that is all. Then the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What? Good gracious! Do you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that it blew up. Objection! But we've already established the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring trick. Objection! You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of staged trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But... We've procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration at the Great Exhibition. Understood. I like giving this guy my Xenos voice. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago, through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. If the whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdcage appear above their heads and then crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on which the machine was built was flawed somehow. A waxwork? I mean, a body double? That goes without saying, surely, to give the impression that something is moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines? Ugh. Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. But such talents do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claims. Namely, the construction of what, by all accounts, must have been an extremely complex scientific machine. Whatever do you mean? Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Drebber. Indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how. Yes, it's true that I possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field. He faded. Yeah, we found a robot man. Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science there. Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If a hypothesis is sound, it can always be forged into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive... What? Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wilds to sniveling, talentless scientists in the past. Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was an unfortunate accident? Or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by misuse of the science? He also talks in robot puns constantly. Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please. Yes, my lord. So how soon can I say, of course we have a body double? Haven't you ever heard of wax museums? Hold it! So you were already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself? Not really. By chance I'd seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for. So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular, then? Yeah. Who can say? I presume because my name is associated with excellence in engineering. Not to mention excellence in fraud. Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given. In other words, the Kinesis machine was built on solid scientific principles. Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other. Hold it! It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the Kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. there's nothing left of that device either. Not a not a single shred of evidence remaining. I hear. He must have planned all this from the outset. But in any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick. Of course, that's it. Mr. Asman was a twin.
Objection!
I'm gonna get some wine thrown at me. Perhaps my learned friend wasn't listening earlier. Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. No, I heard you before. But the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Sith absolutely ruled that out as a possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asman, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who looked identical to Mr. Asman, then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim. I had mentioned before, I'm like, it would be nice if just once, if he made the leap, like, immediately. Like, if as soon as they were like, oh, teleportation, oh, and a wax museum, if he was like, okay, it was the body, though. They used a wax double, I get it. But no. He's like, I can't shake the feeling that I've heard of something that can look identical to a human person. But I don't know what it could be.
Hold it!
It crashed head first, you say? According to the many witness reports from those there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another of your unique inventions was found at the scene. Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes, the birdcage plummeting headfirst into the tower. Oh, what a surprise. I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it? How would you have come by that information? I know, but, like, something this obvious. Like, this could almost be, maybe not in a Phoenix Wright game, but maybe you could have, like, a parody game of some kind. No, it would have to be in here. Just maybe it would have to be something a tiny bit more obvious than them going, hey, this guy teleported. By the way, here's a wax museum. Like, immediately. They're like, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, oh, he said he was going to the wax museum, and we're going to keep going back there and visiting it, and finding out that somebody stole one of them. How would you have come by that information? Even an infernal recluse like me reads the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body. Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant, and he had broken vertebrae as the result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Early on in Investigations 2, where it's like, common sense does not exist in this world. Logic truly is Miles' superpower, and even he's not good at it. Did I play? I only played Investigations 1, right? Is Investigations... I think you mentioned it, maybe. That they're translating it now? Or that there's a fan translation, I think you said. Do we know which injury was the fatal one?
Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined. What we do know is the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment. And since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken, it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height.
I suppose that's hard to deny.
That you can't deny.
Hold it!
So you understood the science, did you?
Not in the slightest.
Oh, right.
As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I would be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused. we have an engineer in the audience who has an objection. It's like, of course I don't understand science. Engineering is just, there's a picture of a gear, so you put a gear there, and then there's a picture of a wire, so you put a wire there. It's pretty much like paint by numbers. Ah, a European joke. I get it. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example.
But how is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies upon? Cover your eyes. Cover your eyes and ears. I'm gonna say it. He's gonna say something stupid. Oh, shit. Oh my god. Somebody actually called me out for the first time.
Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you?
It's the face of a destroyed man. A very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. Nothing doer.
The point is, the experiment resulted in an instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis.
He's certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion. It's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or the other. But if we're unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery, rather than genuine science, we will have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Harebrain's innocence. Both Mr. Asman and this man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. Seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Van Zeek's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Drebber? So, are we already going to present something about waxwork? Or do I have something else that Here's the question, too. Who do we think is... Which one do we think is the waxwork, right? The real guy must have been on stage and is still alive. Has the investigation team been, like, covering up the fact that they found a dummy? Because of some, like, super secret thing? Because the fact that they haven't allowed us to ever actually go to the place where he reappeared and and check out his body is suspicious. That does make it seem like this picture is a picture of the waxwork, and that would mean that the guy fell through the floor and is still alive. It wasn't the wax dummy falls through the floor and the real guy shows up dead. But just this picture doesn't doesn't prove anything. Oh, but I guess there is... That would mean that the whole autopsy report was completely faked, or that somehow... No, I don't know. I guess that would mean that the whole autopsy report would be fake. Okay, that doesn't really show anything. I don't know why we have a photograph of him. What are we going to need that for? Oh, maybe because he's got a plus on his chest? Is that going to turn out to be something? Maybe. I forgot all about the camera. Did I even examine this? I did not. What a wonderful bloody machine. You really love contraptions like this, don't you? Oh yes, anything mechanical I find absolutely irresistible. Almost irresistible, surely. Well, whenever I see a pocket watch, for example, I can't help myself. I simply have to take it apart. That's worrying. Yes, Father tells the time by the rumblings in his stomach now. He's given up on having a watch. Poor Professor Mikotoba. But what about the blood? Look, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it? The D in D-pad stands for Drebber. He invented it. No, someone else figured out the science behind it, and he just built it. On the bellows, just here, there seem to be some very dark red stains. Yes, that's him. You're right. It looks like blood, actually. Oh my. Sure, it's not what you're thinking. Alright, so there was that. Oh, look, the cover came open. Yes. Now, there should be a glass plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take, you see. Is something wrong? There is no plate. It's been removed. Ah, what a pity. But I suppose if you think about it, this wouldn't be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the waxwork isn't the actual person. So we'd never have found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life anyway. Oh, yes, you're right, of course. Poor Susato-san, she looks devastated. Okay, this... Now, this is another thing that would be a big leap to present the piece of broken glass to prove that a waxwork could have been used in the fraud because we found a waxwork that had a piece of glass from the Crystal Tower in it. Big leap, but my only idea right now. Also, let's look at this. Royal Society. There's a little metal plaque here, look. Fostering burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery. It seems rather ironic, doesn't it? But clearly Mr. Drebber really was a very talented scientist. Here on the bottom, it's the combination to the safe. No, it isn't. Why would I ever need this? What did this say again? Oh. This lock does look very strong, doesn't it? Definitely no way you could remove the mask yourself if it was put on you. What a terrible way to treat someone. Even a convicted criminal. I know. It's starting to make me livid, actually. Mr. Naruto, please. I mean, just think about it. Imagine if you had an itch on your cheek all of a sudden. You'd be utterly helpless. Well, yes, that's true. But I'm not sure that warrants quite so much anger. Oh, right. Sorry. Condemned prisoner, Hunter 2, redacted for confidentiality, pseudonym the Professor, died by hanging, confirmed at midnight, well, which midnight then? Like midnight at the end of June 17th, or midnight at the beginning? Courtney Stevens. We've heard that name before, haven't we? Maybe. I'm gonna try presenting it.
Objection.
Nope, wrong. So which of these are false? Met the young professor 1 year ago. It was no trick. Maybe we can refute that. Didn't have a body double. Saw the birdcage appear above their heads and crash head first into the crystal. Oh, the bottom is damaged. Look here, Mr. Sato. Oh yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. I suppose because it fell from such a height. Yes, from the height at which the balloon was flying down into the crystal tower below. Fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. Leaving the man inside tragically dead. Oh, and that even updated it. Okay, so even presenting everything I don't think would have worked.
Objection.
Interesting that I never thought to examine that. We've examined the birdcage that crashed into the crystal tower just a few seconds ago. As you can see, the cage, which is a wooden construction, has sustained damage in one particular spot. Wait, did we bring it in? I suppose we did. We brought it into the courtroom with us. Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower. That level of damage is to be expected, surely. I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the birdcage, not the top. What are you saying? That's the opposite of where they should be. That's right, my lord. The birdcage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So we have reports of the birdcage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two birdcages in play that day, which were, at some point, switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Gah! Isn't this the jury's cue to say, we all believe that he's guilty right now? We all believe that he's guilty. We're going to spam fireballs until you tell us to stop. Good gracious, explain yourself, witness. Well...
If we examine the facts, there is only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the tower.
Objection.
But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first.
The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, resulting in a spontaneous explosion at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level.
Which is approximately 18 meters.
It then proceeded to fall.
Wait a second. So hold on. In the translation, clearly they keep cutting to somebody to say how many are they reversing it there? Like, is he saying how many feet in Japanese and then she translates it to meters? I mean, yeah. Oh no, wait. He's saying feet. He is saying feet. Okay, whatever. He's saying feet, she's saying meters.
Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection.
But the victim's neck was broken.
He plummeted 30 feet, inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one or two. I shall count his crushed vertebrae. One crushed vertebrae. Two crushed vertebrae. A riveting scientific analysis of events from the prosecution there. Though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebra, actually.
It wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zieks. This witness is clearly a swindler, and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel like that's the undertone here.
Ah, yes. And there's one more point the defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth plainly demonstrates.
What?
It seems to me that the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with details of this truth. Of course. We must treat the matter scientifically, after all.
Ugh, I nearly had him there. You alright? There's nowhere else 30 feet high for the birdcage to have fallen from. Can I just immediately present this stage with a hole in it?
Objection.
I cannot. Whoops. Beep, 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 beep. Alright, I'll press instead.
Hold it.
What do you mean?
Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience.
Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asman on the experimentation stage, that's true.
And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the birdcage fell.
Wait, it kept falling after it broke the glass, didn't it? It merely decelerated by, I don't know, some number of meters per second.
And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim himself must have been beamed from the stage into the sky above the Crystal Tower.
This came up before, right? Didn't I already Google the word trenchant? Maybe not. Incisive or keen as language, or a person. Caustic, cutting, trenchant wit.
Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible. Oh yes, it's all very well thought out.
Certainly, all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage plummeting 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. That would be like, hey, he fell down into the Oops. I mean, this shows a balloon that is in the air, and we're kind of saying that we think that he was in. Oh no! We don't think he was inside the balloon. We think that he... And I already did present this.
Objection!
Oh, that was it. This is a poorly drawn diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the Crystal Tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters, as we keep repeating. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you'll see that there is one other possible location from which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet.
No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel.
Yes, my lord. Of course.
You will indicate the place to which you are referring on this same diagram. The alternative location from which the birdcage could have possibly fallen the requisite 30 feet.
Right there.
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is here.
But that's where the birdcage would have been to begin with.
Which is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage, but what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself.
Go on, counsel.
It turns out that the experimentation stage was built at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's up at about the same height above the ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and birdcage were engulfed in steam. I like how we're demonstrating this, even though there's no way that you would reliably indicate on this diagram where the birdcage appeared. I mean, you could be approximate, but it's not like showing it on here proves that it's the same distance. You know, that the height of this thing is the same distance that, well, you know. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we assume there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design.
Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And take a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. If you place both of these pictures, one in each eye, and then cross your eyes, the 3D effects will reveal that you can fall 30 feet down.
Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone.
Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion that destroyed the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. Mr. Drebber, it was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. I did not see a trailer for the the Somnium Files sequel. Would I want to? I mean, yeah, I guess I would want to play it. Huh. Oh, but well, I mean, I'm sure I'll play it regardless. It's Ever! Ever, how are you? And are you caught up? Because we're doing great right now, I think. Whether Professor Hairbrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters. A machine designed to take Mr. Asman's life and lay the blame firmly at the professor's door, something that could only have been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber.
Objection!
If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions...
Wait a minute. How did he pour the wine without the assistant? In all the previous cases, did he just have an already uncorked bottle of wine sitting there, aerating and growing... No, wait, aerating it is good. I think it's okay if it aerates. It's also okay if the glass aerates, like that.
The prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely.
Alright, we got 2 months. 2 months until the Somnium Files 2. Good.
Your argument fails to hold water. On two counts!
Will I ever get tired of saying it? No. 2?
Firstly.
Oh, Ever is going to sleep. Good night.
Before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff from the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages.
But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to.
The nonsense with the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed into the tower are one and the same.
Yeah, I guess I will never get tired of it.
The forensic investigation team's report is unequivocal on that point.
Ugh.
And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man have wanted to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so.
A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself?
I have here a contract provided by the witness.
What contract is this, Lord Van Zeeks?
The contract into which Mr. Draber entered with the victim, Mr. Asman. It reads, Mr. Draber is to receive 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income.
30%? Certainly. Very favorable contractual conditions.
But there was one very important provision bolted onto that clause.
What provision?
Mr. Draber may only uphold...
Wow, what a weird thing to put in a contract.
Mr. Draber may only uphold this right on the condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asman's death. The diametric opposite, in fact.
Ugh.
Need I say more? The witness had neither an opportunity nor a reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Draber having done as you suggest is nil.
Nil? That's the opposite of exist. Ooh-ah! It seems the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark. Lord Van Zeeks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. Hereby enters into contract with the provider to fund labor and materials for the structure of a super high voltage machine. Wait a minute, does he sign his last name and then loop around for the O? No good person would do that. Hold on. Can I go one more to the right? No, it loops. It's true. If Draber had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower, he couldn't have done it. And in any case, I have no idea what his motive might have been. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 birdcages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo. And I've no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths, too. Well, it would seem the defense has no rejoinder to offer.
Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I am the culprit. Oh, we can just object to that? Oh, wow, being a lawyer is really easy.
At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 birdcage, yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized at first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit. There's 2 of him.
Get to the point.
The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drebber. Therefore, it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. Yeah, I guess we're just ignoring that. I mean, he said it in front of a Scotland Yard inspector, but the fact that he was like, you didn't find the other time bomb that I set inside the machine, and then it went off, and we're like, we can't nail him with that though. So if circumstances mean it's impossible that you could have carried out the crime yourself, does he have a Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Dwaynor's gonna be pissed. Does he have a secret twin? Is that why we have the picture? Does he like not have is he gonna say like, oh, I've always had a robot eye in under my monocle? And we're like, oh no, wait, never mind, he's wearing a monocle there too. Something, I don't know, something will be different.
Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting?
Yes, my lord, Mr. Drebber had an accomplice.
An accomplice now? Well then, I presume you're prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only this witness, but someone else of the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false,
then you get the same punishment? Is it like the weird other court?
then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter?
What do I do here? At the moment, this is little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Drebber had an accomplice or if he even really is the culprit here. I have to think carefully about this. Don't want the world to turn into sand. One way or another, though, I have to make my position clear as a lawyer. So what's my stance going to be? Did Drebber have an accomplice or not? Oh, I have to actually name them right now. I mean, I'm going to. It's...